Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 20 Minute Moat podcast by Volume.io. Here we talk with senior thought leaders and practitioners in the space of customer support to understand how customer support is evolving and how is tech enabling them to build delightful support experiences. Today, I have Samir with me. Samir is a fintech expert when it comes to customer support. Right. Welcome to the show, Samir.
Thanks, Siddharth. Great to be here.
Could you tell us a bit more about yourself?
I've been with the banking and financial services industry pretty much in servicing my entire career. Currently, I lead servicing for WazirX, India's largest cryptocurrency exchange. And prior to that, I was with another banking company for almost 13 years. So it's been pretty much in the servicing industry for me.
Yeah, I think you worked in the banking space so much, right? And now with, everyone who's listening to this would very love to know about cryptocurrency, right? It's all the rage after Bitcoins has suddenly boomed up and, created, it's, to be very honest, it's created enormous wealth for a lot of folks as well. Folks who had believed in cryptocurrency as a asset, right? So, what's been your personal insight, right? How has this space grown over the last couple of years? You've seen it from close quarters, so it'll be great to hear your thoughts.
I think so. I would still consider myself a crypto beginner, or maybe an intermediate. Definitely not an expert. Uh, but my personal thing has been definitely in the last 6 months, the crypto industry has gone mainstream, right? Before that, at least for the Indian market, it was almost an industry that was in the shadows. Now, if you watch the telly, if you watch cricket, you will have lots of exchanges promoting crypto. So it's really gone mainstream in the past few months, and that's really caught on with a lot of institution investors coming in, and a lot of people taking it really seriously, thinking of it as an asset class first and foremost, and maybe a currency to maybe go against gold at some point, and maybe the US dollar as well.
Oh yeah, for a very long time, I could recount this from my childhood, right? We went to an exhibition in Bangalore, and that time somebody tried to sell a Bitcoin to my dad, right? And my dad was like, "What is this? Why are you giving me a fancy gold-looking coin and all?" And he's like, "Oh, this is just like a show piece. You actually don't own it. You actually need a USB stick. I'll give you a key and everything." And my dad was like, "No, no, no, I don't need all this, right?" And I still remember that moment very firmly etched in my mind, because if he had bought a Bitcoin then, today I would be sitting on like a gazillion of dollars.
I know everyone seems to have these stories, right? Like if you would have invested so and so at in 2010, it would be so much. If you had invested in
Well, the information that time was very limited, right? Nobody knew what a Bitcoin was. I was lucky. I was in that exhibition with my dad, and talking to the person. But before that, and even after that, I was like, okay, it's like some fad or something, or maybe it's just. For a long time, I thought it was a scam. To be very honest, crypto was a scam. But now, like you said, it's gone very mainstream. For me, it's an asset class as well. For retail investor, for a very layman retail investor. So I think WazirX has done a lot of work into making it into one of the asset classes that people can invest in. So I think you folks have done brilliantly. And with cryptocurrency, right? Like a layman, I have so many questions. Your customers also would have a lot of questions, right? So what does a customer support organization, look like in WazirX?
Yeah. So servicing in WazirX, or customer support organization, has about close to 250K engagements that we receive uh, across over a month, across four different channels, which is email, voice, chat, and social media. Okay. Uh, Emails is our most well-established channel. It's been there since the time that WazirX came to prominence. Voice, chat, and socials have been the channels that we've started with recently. In the current scheme of things, we definitely see them playing a much stronger role as we move forward as well.
Sure. And when you talk about the team structure, right? Because in a customer support organization, it's a team that makes or breaks it. So how does that play out?
So, like I said, our emails team is the most well established and the most prominent team that we have at the moment.
Okay.
All right. Voice would come in as a close second. Chat and socials are really just coming up. But we feel the way the market is going, the way the customer is going, with a lot of millennials coming in, we definitely feel that those are the two teams that will continue to grow. And we might just see uh, emails and voice reduce over time, and then chat and definitely social messenger and all of that increase over time.
Got it. And since you've been in the field and on the front line for so long, right? And this is the question which I really wanted to ask: how do you measure effectiveness when it comes to support?
So I think if we think about effectiveness, effectiveness is a customer. When a customer comes to you, you understand what he's asking you to do, and you deliver on that. Right? That's pretty much effectiveness. The most important metric for that, in my opinion, is your regular CSAT or customer satisfaction, or whatever we want to call it. Right? We measure a host of internal metrics for response times, for resolutions, for quality, for different parameters. But again, your CSAT is the king metric when you talk about the servicing organization.
All right. Yeah. So, and I mean, one you talked about CSAT, right? I mean, as your North Star metric, right? What are the other metrics you folks look at on a daily basis? Because I'm sure with WazirX, you have a gazillion metrics and gazillion dashboards that you look at, right? So if you could give us some insight on those as well.
So absolutely. I mean, internally there are multiple that we look at. Like what is the first response is one, full resolution is one. We have different parameters for quality in terms of how we'll are we capturing all the things that we want to communicate to a customer, in terms of empathy, in terms of humanizing, in terms of understanding well. So there are, like you said, there are gazillions of metrics. I mean, I can keep going on. There are over, I think, 30 or 35 different parameters that we look at
Wow.
for every different ticket, and similarly for metrics as well. Uh, but yeah, those are the key ones. Like
And these metrics are looked at on a daily, weekly, monthly, and a quarterly basis.
pretty much.
Wow. And all this comes onto your shoulders.
So we have a very high performing team.
Okay.
I don't mind saying the very another four times if I have had to. Uh, that's really been our strength, because in the last couple of quarters we've seen a lot of turmoil happening with the crypto industry going, uh, for lack of a better word, bonkers. And with that, it's pretty much been testing all exchanges. And as that has happened, it's led to a lot of support volumes. It's led to a lot of issues, and the onus has come on the support organization to continue to deliver on the deliver on the service levels that our customers expect from us. Have a lot of metrics, but at the same time, what we do have is an extremely high performing team that is very good at their work. I wouldn't mind repeating this very another four times. That's really the team that keeps everything going in the most difficult of times, as we saw in the last crypto boom, where things frankly went a little bonkers. So I think that team takes the credit for all of that good work.
I mean, I mean, as far as I know, right, and I'm a layman when it comes to crypto, right, the volatility is very high, right? I mean, it sometimes goes crazy up, right? I mean, and people want to cash in on those, or it goes crazy low, and people want to, like, people are like, okay, what happened? I can't see anything on the dashboard. Why is my money looking so low? Right? I mean, obviously, right? I mean, you invested say X rupees yesterday, and today it looks like 1/10th of X, and you're like, okay, well, what happened to my money? Where did it go? How did it go overnight? Right? I mean, Bitcoin was so good yesterday. Not going to become bad today, right? So, and I think your support teams, like I've interacted with the support team as a customer, right? And I think they've done a fantastic job in assuaging my fears and making sure that I'm explained to well, right? So that's a testament. Uh, how is the support team here? You talked about, how your email teams are the strongest as of today, but you see chat and, other channels growing as you get more and more different demographics of users into the WazirX platform, right? Uh, would you mind sharing insights as to how they have grown and evolved over the past, say, 1 year or a couple of years?
Uh, Actually, so if we talk about a shift in how the team has evolved, that evolution, to be honest, few years seems like way too much time. I mean, I can talk about evolution that has happened in the last couple of quarters.
Oh,
So,
yes. That is
so,
interesting.
so last couple of quarters, thanks to the crypto industry, from where it was to where it is now, our support headcount has gone up by almost 5 times from where.
Wow.
All right, and that is also the time where we introduced chat, voice, and social channels. And the key reason for that was that we really felt that with a lot of millennials coming in, with a lot of people who were compared to a previous group, which were more crypto novices, they had more queries, they had more questions, and we needed to get to a place where we were able to answer them in a much faster way, right? They weren't people who knew everything about the system and only came to us where everything else had gone down, and were very patient with whatever we could do to solve. These were people who had more basic questions, right? And they were literally waiting for us to give them that answer so they could start trading. So in terms of the patience level as well, when you have a basic query, you want someone to just tell you in the next 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So that's where chat, voice, and our social channels have come more into prominence. Like if we go back to 2 quarters back, all these three teams were zero, and if you look at now, these three teams make about, I'd say, about 70% of our headcount, and we
Wow.
expect this to increase for the next couple of quarters as well.
Wow. And now from the internal team, right? And we've talked about your customers, right? I like, we talked about how Gen Z are different and how, millennials are going to, coming on different channels, right? Do you think, as customers, right, they are trying to reach you on different channels by purpose, or is it like they're more comfortable on those channels, so they expect the brand to be there? What are your thoughts on this?
Correct. So it's actually a bit of both. All right. So people, especially the newer generation, is much more comfortable on support and chat. They've seen that, and with WazirX, they expect the same thing as well, right? Because now WazirX is the market leader when it comes to crypto exchanges in India. They expect WazirX to be on all of those platforms, be ready to service them.
Yeah. And I cannot avoid asking you this question because you've been in the client servicing for so long, right? Your thoughts on what was the best practices that used to work before, and what are the best practices that work today? What, like, I believe there is a stark difference, and I wanted your thoughts on it.
I think if I look at difference from where it was to where it is now, I would definitely say that in terms of channels, in terms of customer expectations of timelines, there has been a difference, right? Uh, it like 20 years back or 10 years back, you would be very comfortable picking up the phone, waiting for to get connected to an agent, and then speak to an agent, and then the agent would take your query, and then you would get a response from the backend team within 2-3 days. Now that your most people are more comfortable going on chat and trying to get that resolved as soon as possible. So timeliness has changed, and I think chat really is something that facilitates that. In terms of, if I think about the principles of service, I think the principles of service stay pretty much the same. All right, like if you're talking about how do you want to delight the customer, that pretty much remains the same. You have to showcase empathy. You have to tell the customer that you understand what they're going through. You have to tell the person that you understand what's happened, not just at the surface, but even the emotion behind it. Additionally, you have to communicate very clearly in terms of where they are and what do we need to do to resolve it, and what timelines are we looking at. And then the final part is also about delivery, and that's basically about how can we look at over delivering on that promise. Can we identify some opportunities that can reduce the time that we've shared with the customer currently? Or can we look at giving some tips to the customer that can help them avoid getting into these situations in the future? So in terms of those aspects, it remains exactly the same. In terms of the tech aspect and the timeliness aspect, I definitely agree that those have changed.
Folks who are listening in, right? I mean, this is customer service by the first principles, right? I mean, you should have taken notes, and if you haven't, go back, take more notes. Right? I mean, this is how customer service is done, right? Right. Samir, now coming to the tech part of it, right? You mentioned it. Do you feel, and we've talked about this, as the customer support has evolved, do you feel that pandemic was a very inflection point for brands adopting these technologies? I know WazirX been one of those few brands that have been at the forefront of technology adoption, right? But at an industry level, right? And when I say industry, I'm talking about the entire fintech, when the BFSI as well. Do you think pandemic was that accelerator or the shot in the arm that the other enterprises and brands needed to start adopting more technology in the client service customer support area?
Absolutely. I think if we look at more of the legacy companies, there's definitely been a shift from where you would see your traditional support channels to them coming more on chat and social channels as well. Like you mentioned, WazirX has been more like it's a new company. It's a company that is already a remote organization and pretty much technology adept. So in terms of the shot in the arm, I wouldn't say it was the pandemic so much, but really like I said before, it was the boom of the crypto market that accelerated all of those changes for us. But definitely for the legacy companies, I think pandemic was an accelerator.
And your entire talk about we've been talking about tech, right? But if you can share some insight as to how automation and AI actually helps customer support.
Absolutely. So in my mind, the key is speed. All right. The key is distribution. So automation whose journey is clearly defined can answer, I don't know, 100x of responses to a particular issue that people won't be able to in that short period of time. So if we're looking at cases where there are spikes, all right, or we're looking at things that are scaling in a very short period, it's a very useful tool because it frees up time for our agents and our customer service agents to do things that they're good at, which is focusing on being more human about the customer service experience. Yeah. So if there is a situation where there are, let's say, 100,000 customers wanting the same thing because something is broken, an automation or a bot can do that much faster. If there is a journey which is 50% or 60% all repetitive work, the automation can do that much faster. It also frees up time for people to spend more time with customers, being more empathetic, focusing more on their communication, focusing more on their delivery, which in the longer term enhances a customer's expectation. Right. So in my mind, the key, what it really enables us is to manage A, spikes, and B, delivering or distributing at speed.
Got it. Understood. And if I were to ask you, what is that one tech you want in customer support today?
I think one thing that I've been looking for, and I don't think we found, is a channel or a tool or something that brings all interactions of a particular customer together. So like as an agent, if I'm trying to resolve a query, I get to see, so okay, so this person also reached out to us on socials, this person also sent us a chat on this date, this person has also sent us an email, this person also called us through voice. And so now when I'm looking at this is the fifth time that he's reaching out to us. And that I feel doesn't happen today. If I look at it from the point of view that this person is trying to come to us for the fifth time and not the first time, it will completely change the way I respond to this person, because I'll want to definitely be more empathetic. I want to understand what happened that the first four interactions weren't as fruitful. So I think that's something that will really be a game changer and take things to the next level in customer service.
Pretty interesting. You're talking about the holy grail of a unified customer, a unified customer profile across channels, across mediums, and across all within the grasp of a live agent. Pretty interesting. And while we talked about this in this question itself, how do you think this space and technology in the customer support industry is going to evolve over the next 2-3 years?
I think what we'll see is that over time, it's going to be, and some companies are already moving towards that. It's going to be complementary between people and machines and automation, where the automation and the AI focuses on the more repetitive bit, and not as you'd want judgment calls or 50-50 kind of situations. And that's where the human agent sort of steps in and does more of a service recovery kind of situation. So I think I definitely see them as becoming complementary over the long run, and which will definitely help companies scale much faster. And also with scale, so if we're as a company, we're scaling, but we don't have to get into that cycle of hiring, training, and all of that, we can focus on improving the customer experience. And then that ends up improving the customer experience, takes things to the next level as well.
Got it. Samir, I can keep asking you more and more questions, but unfortunately, we have come to the end of the podcast session. It was lovely having you and lovely insights. I learned a lot about how customer service works from first principles, right? And what is the technology that every customer leader right now needs, right? Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Siddharth. A pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening in to our episode today. We'll be back with another interesting, thoughtful, and insightful episode shortly. In the meanwhile, you could check out our previous episodes on worloop.io/podcasts. If you're looking to build delightful support experiences, do reach out to us on hello@worloop.io. Till next time, this is Sid from worloop.io signing off.